So picture this. You are, you're sitting at a conference table, or maybe you're at one of those community networking events holding a tiny paper plate of cheese.
Oh, yeah, the classic tiny paper plate.
Right. And you're feeling pretty good. I mean, you're mingling, you're feeling confident, and then it happens.
Someone walks up to you.
Exactly. Someone turns to you, makes direct eye contact, and drops the 5 most universally terrifying words in the English language. Tell me about yourself.
Ugh. It's the ultimate conversational deer in the headlights moment, isn't it?
It really is.
Suddenly you forget everything you have ever done, every hobby you've ever had. You probably forget your own last name for a second there.
Yeah, totally. Instead of feeling like a friendly invitation, it feels like a trap.
A huge trap.
But today on the Deep Dive, we're completely dismantling that trap for you. We've unearthed this incredible framework. It was originally developed for language learners, actually.
Right, which is so interesting.
Yeah, it's a curriculum from the English Decoded Slow English podcast. But, as we dug into this material, we realized something kind of profound. This isn't just a lesson in navigating a new language. It is an absolute masterclass in human communication for anyone.
Anyone at all.
Because whether you are prepping for a massive corporate pitch, or you're stepping into a new neighborhood event, or, just trying not to freeze up at a dinner party, the underlying psychology here is so universally applicable.
It really is. It translates to any high-stakes social situation.
Absolutely. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the sheer, unadulterated panic of that open-ended prompt.
Well, the nerves are honestly the perfect place to start,
Yeah.
because the curriculum addresses this physiological reaction right away. When someone asks you to tell them about yourself, that instant spike in anxiety, that's incredibly common.
Oh, good. So it's not just me.
No, not at all. And it is vital to validate that because, we always assume everyone else in the room has this, perfectly polished elevator pitch ready to go.
Right, like they rehearsed it in the mirror for an hour.
Exactly. And when our own mind goes completely blank, we panic. We think we're the only one failing at this.
We absolutely do. And the foundational rule this curriculum provides to combat that panic is it's brilliant in its brevity.
It really is.
It states that you do not need complicated English or, a complicated narrative. You only need clear and simple sentences. That's it.
Just keep it simple.
Right. So the central thesis we are working with today is, quote, simple English is powerful English.
Yes.
Or, applied more broadly to our listeners today, simple communication is powerful communication. And when I read that, I immediately thought about how much we all just hate information overload in our daily lives.
Oh, completely. Which is an entirely valid parallel, by the way. We are bombarded with data constantly on our phones or emails.
Right.
So when we meet someone new, we don't actually want their verbal resume. We don't want a data dump.
No, we don't. Think about conversational communication like building a house.
Okay, I like this.
When someone drops that "tell me about yourself" question, people panic because they think they need to instantly construct this complex, multi-story mansion of vocabulary and achievements.
Yeah, like an entire estate.
Exactly, with a moat. They think they need sweeping architectural descriptions of their entire life history, their career trajectory, and their philosophical outlook on the universe.
Right, which is exhausting for the person talking and the person listening.
Totally exhausting. But really, a sturdy, simple cabin is far more welcoming. It is so much easier for a listener to walk through the front door of a simple cabin than to navigate a maze-like, intimidating mansion.
What's fascinating here is the psychology behind why simple actually reads as powerful to the human brain.
Oh, do tell.
Well, we often confuse complexity with intelligence, right? We think if we use big, convoluted phrasing or if we stack up, 10 different impressive adjectives about our jobs.
Like synergistic cross-functional paradigm shifting.
Yes, exactly. We think all that jargon will make us sound more competent. But simplicity actually demonstrates clarity of thought.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does. When you strip away all the complicated phrasing, you are forced to present your most authentic self. You aren't hiding behind jargon anymore.
Right.
In that lack of pretense, it instantly puts both the speaker and the listener at ease.
Because you're taking the pressure off the room. You aren't forcing the other person to mentally decode a wall of corporate speak.
Exactly.
And maybe just as importantly, you aren't forcing your own brain to juggle a million different linguistic variables while your heart rate is, at 120 beats per minute.
Precisely. You are giving your own nervous system a break by just laying down a solid, uncomplicated foundation.
Wow, yeah.
You basically remove the cognitive load of trying to sound impressive, which ironically makes you sound far more grounded and confident.
That's the paradox of it, right? So, okay, we know we want to build the simple cabin. We want to avoid the labyrinth. Let's look at the actual blueprints the source provides for this.
Let's do it.
The framework gives us a really comprehensive menu of topics you can pull from to construct these foundational sentences. Things like your background, your daily life, your interests, your goals, personality experiences.
Even favorite activities, travel dreams, learning habits.
Yeah, and future plans. It's a great list.
Having a categorized menu like that is incredibly strategic, especially when your mind goes totally blank.
It's like a lifeline.
Exactly. You don't need to hit all of those categories. In fact, you really shouldn't. That would be a monologue. But it gives you an immediate anchor.
Right. And the curriculum gives a couple of specific examples of how to actually assemble these blocks. The first one they give is, quote, "My name is Alex. I come from a small town. I enjoy reading books and learning new skills."
Simple, clean.
Very. And the second example is, "I am a student. I am currently improving my English because I want better opportunities in the future."
Another great one.
But wait, let me just stop here and play devil's advocate for you, our listener. Because if I am at a high-stakes tech mixer or some big professional conference, and I introduce myself by saying, "I am a student," or "I enjoy reading books."
I'm worried it sounds too simple.
Yeah. I run the risk of sounding incredibly basic. Doesn't this approach risk making you totally forgettable in a room full of accomplished professionals?
Well, that is a very natural fear, and frankly, it's the exact reason people retreat back into all that awful jargon.
Right. The synergistic paradigm.
Exactly. But to understand why these examples actually work so well, we have to look past the specific words and analyze the underlying architecture of the sentences.
Okay. Break that down for me.
So these sentences are not meant to be the entire conversation. They are just the bedrock. When you meet someone new, you need a clear, unambiguous starting line.
The starting line, yeah.
Right. If you start out way too complex, the other person literally doesn't know what thread to pull on.
Because they're completely overwhelmed by the giant mansion you just dropped on them?
Yes, exactly. Now, let's address your concern about sounding basic by mapping this onto a corporate environment.
Okay, let's do it.
The architecture of that second example is actually brilliant. It's current state plus future motivation.
Current state plus future motivation.
Okay. The student says, "I am improving my English because I want better opportunities." Now, if you scale that up to a professional level, you obviously don't say, "I'm a student."
Right.
Instead, you might say, "I manage supply chains, and right now I'm focused on integrating AI into our logistics to cut down on waste."
Oh, wow. Okay, that completely changes the dynamic. It's the exact same formula, just populated with adult variables.
It is. The framework doesn't demand you use elementary vocabulary. It demands you use elementary structure.
Yeah.
You link a clear current state to a forward-looking motivation.
Which is so much easier to digest.
And it isn't a dead end. By stating a motivation, you are leaving a door wide open. You are naturally inviting follow-up questions from the other person.
Yeah, because now the listener is immediately prompted to ask something like, "Oh, what kind of AI are you looking into?" Or, "Has the waste reduction been significant?"
Exactly. The structural simplicity creates the actual space for the conversation to happen organically.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So you've opened the front door of your simple cabin, and the listener has stepped inside. But, once they are in there, you need something to show them to keep them engaged.
Right. You can't just stand in the foyer.
You cannot. And that's where the framework transitions from foundational identity into our interests, specifically hobbies.
Hobbies,
Yeah.
yes. Imagine you are at a community event, the initial introductions are out of the way, and the topic of hobbies comes up, which it always does.
Always.
It's a universal pivot point in pretty much any casual conversation.
It is. And the framework lists these universal hobbies we all recognize, right? Music, sports, technology, art, photography, cooking, travel, business.
Standard stuff.
Yeah, standard stuff. But they make a crucial point that literally any hobby can become a compelling conversation topic, provided you use their specific three-part structure. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because this structure is absolute gold for anyone who struggles with small talk.
Oh, it really is a lifesaver.
So to explain a hobby effectively, you need three elements. First, what you enjoy. Second, how often you do it. And third, why it makes you happy.
What, how often, and why? It sounds so intuitive when it's laid out like that, but consider how rarely people actually provide all three elements in casual conversation.
Oh, almost never. Usually people just stop at step one.
Right. They just say, I like running, and then silence.
Yes. I was thinking about this like pitching a movie to a friend. If you just name the hobby, if you just say, I like cooking, that is merely giving them the genre of the movie.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Thanks. It's like saying, I watched a sci-fi film.
Okay.
That's information, but I don't care yet. There's no hook.
Right, there's no story.
But when you add how often you do it and why it makes you happy, you are subtly providing the plot and the emotional stakes. So instead of just, I like cooking, you say, I enjoy cooking. I try to tackle a complicated new recipe every Sunday evening, and it makes me happy because it forces me to slow down and work with my hands after a whole week of staring at screens.
The genre versus the plot and stakes, that perfectly captures the mechanics of why this works. You are no longer just transferring dry data about your weekend activities.
Right, it's not a bullet point anymore.
Exactly. You are sharing a piece of your emotional landscape.
But let me push back on this a little bit, because cooking is, inherently relatable. Everyone eats.
Fair point.
What if my hobby is incredibly niche, or frankly, a bit dry to the outside world? What if my hobby is, I don't know, building complex financial spreadsheets for fun, or collecting obscure 18th century stamps? How on earth do I add emotional stakes to stamp collecting without sounding totally bizarre?
Well, that is the beauty of the why in this three-part framework. The why bridges the gap between a niche activity and a universal human emotion.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's take your stamp collecting example. If you just say, I collect old stamps, the other person might just politely nod and secretly start looking for an exit.
100%. They're looking for the cheese plate.
Exactly. But if you apply the framework, it sounds like this. I collect 18th century stamps. I spend an hour every Saturday cataloging them. It makes me happy because it feels like holding a tiny, tangible piece of history in my hands, and organizing them gives me a sense of order when my work week feels chaotic.
Wow. Okay, yeah. Even if I care absolutely nothing about stamps, I deeply understand the desire to find order in chaos.
Exactly. You are revealing your values to the other person. You're telling them that you value history or tactile experiences, or that you need a way to unwind from stress.
And that is what people actually connect with.
Yes. We don't connect over the abstract concept of the hobby itself. We connect over the shared human experience behind it. That three-part framework takes the most obscure, dry topic and turns it into a highly memorable, deeply human interaction.
You go from exchanging resumes to actually talking like human beings.
What a concept, right?
Truly. And once you have established that kind of genuine connection over a present-day interest, the conversation starts generating its own momentum. But you can't just talk about Sunday dinners or stamp collecting forever.
No, eventually you have to pivot.
Right, you have to evolve the topic to sustain the interaction, which leads us directly to the next major insight from this curriculum discussing the future.
Yes. The material highlights that talking about your goals is honestly one of the most useful strategies for sustaining a conversation. It lists aspirations like wanting to build a career, or start a company, travel abroad, improve communication skills, or even just wanting to help your family.
I noticed something about myself when I was reading that section of the source.
Oh, what's that?
When someone starts talking about a goal, even a really simple one like, I don't know, wanting to learn a new coding language or try to visit Japan next year, my posture literally changes. I find myself leaning in, my eyes focus more. I'm guessing that has something to do with human beings being neurologically wired to follow narrative momentum.
If we connect this to a bigger picture of human psychology, that is exactly what is happening. We are, at our core, storytelling creatures. When you only talk about your background or your current daily routine, you are providing a static exchange of facts. You are painting a still life.
I am from here, I work there. It's totally fixed. There's zero tension in that.
Yes. But a goal implies motion. A goal is a story that hasn't finished yet.
Ooh, I like that.
When you share a goal, you reveal what motivates you every single day. And when we hear someone else's aspirations, we instinctively invite ourselves into their journey.
We do, don't we?
We start imagining their potential. We start thinking about how our own experiences, or maybe the people we know, might relate to their path or could even help them.
Oh, that's so true.
It completely shifts the conversation from a static recounting of the past into a shared dynamic exploration of what is possible.
It is the difference between looking at a historical map of where you have already been versus holding a compass that is pointing to where you are going. The compass is just inherently more engaging.
The compass, that's a perfect way to put it.
Sharing a goal creates a rooting interest, right?
Yeah.
The listener suddenly wants you to succeed.
They do, and frankly, it requires vulnerability. It requires you to state out loud that you are striving for something you have not yet achieved.
Which is scary.
It is. You are admitting a gap between where you are and where you want to be, but that kind of authenticity is incredibly magnetic in a conversation, especially in professional settings where everyone is usually just trying to project absolute, flawless perfection.
Which is such a refreshing departure from the usual posturing we see at these events. Okay, so we have built an incredible toolkit here today.
We really have.
We have the simple foundational bedrock. We know how to map it to adult professional scenarios. We have the three-part hobby framework, the what, the how often, the why. And we know how to use future casting by sharing our goals. On paper, it sounds completely flawless.
On paper, sure.
Right. But here is the reality check. How do you actually execute this out in the wild? How do you walk into that conference room and deploy this without reverting right back to that crushing anxiety we talked about at the very beginning of the deep dive?
Well, the curriculum addresses this execution phase with two really vital principles. The first one is purely pragmatic. Confidence grows through practice.
As with everything.
Exactly. You cannot expect to flawlessly deploy this framework on your very first try. It's just not going to happen. Every single conversation, even the awkward ones, helps you improve a little more. You have to be willing to stumble.
You have to get your reps in, whether it's with the barista at the coffee shop or a CEO at a mixer.
Yes, get the reps in. But the second principle is honestly the ultimate conclusion of the entire framework, and it is the most critical concept to internalize. It states, quote, "There is no perfect answer. The best answer is an honest answer that sounds natural and comfortable."
So what does this all mean? For you, the listener, it means that striving for conversational perfection is actually a trap.
A huge trap.
It is a trap that completely prevents genuine connection. Because if you walk into a networking event obsessing over having the most articulate, impressive, complex introduction ever formulated, you are going to be so trapped in your own head that you won't even be in the room anymore.
No, you won't.
You won't be listening to the other person. You'll just be waiting for your turn to deliver your little monologue.
You basically become a performer delivering a rehearsed script rather than a human being participating in a dialogue. And people can feel that.
They really can.
They can feel the rigidity when you are reciting versus the warmth when you are actually connecting. Letting go of the idea of perfect is really the only way to achieve natural.
So the curriculum is basically giving us permission to drop the facade.
It is. An honest and comfortable answer will always resonate more deeply than a rehearsed, overly complex one. And this raises an important question for all of us, really, not just language learners facing a new vocabulary, but professionals navigating our daily lives.
What's the question?
How often do you prioritize sounding smart over sounding authentic? How often do you build that complicated maze-like mansion of words just to hide the fact that you are nervous when all the other person really wants is to be invited into the warmth of your simple cabin?
Wow. That is the core of it right there. We hide behind complexity because we are afraid our simple truth just isn't enough.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's distill this toolkit for the next time you find yourself at a high-stakes meeting, a dinner party, or a community event, and someone looks at you and asks you to tell them about yourself. First, embrace the power of simple structure. Do not overcomplicate your foundation. Scale the variables, not the syntax.
Keep it simple.
Second, when you talk about your interests, use the three-part framework. What you enjoy, how often you do it, and critically, why it makes you happy. Give them the genre, the plot, and the emotional state.
Yes, give them the why.
Third, share your forward momentum. Tell them your goals and let them lean into your journey. And finally, stop chasing the perfect answer. Aim for honest and comfortable.
It is a profound shift in how you present yourself to the world. And before we go today, I want to leave you with a challenge that builds directly on the psychology we've unpacked.
Oh, I love a good challenge.
Think about your own life right now, in this exact moment. If you were forced to introduce yourself to a complete stranger tomorrow, and you were only allowed to use one simple sentence that captures both your current passion and your ultimate goal, what would that one powerful sentence be?
That is fantastic. Figure out that one sentence, and suddenly the next time you're sitting at that conference table or holding that tiny paper plate of cheese and someone looks at you and drops those universally terrifying words, Wait, no ellipses. I mean, sounds those terrifying words. You won't freeze. You won't panic. You'll just smile. Open the front door to your simple cabin and welcome them in. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. Keep learning, keep practicing, and take that newfound conversational confidence out into the real world.